Something no husband should ever face just happened to me. My wife was targeted by a biker gang sent by the homeowners association. The reason? Our porch lights. My neighbor, Debbie, was grinning like she just neutralized a national threat. What she didn't know was that I'm a highly trained Delta Force operative. Let me rewind a bit so you know how we got here. By the way, drop a comment and let me know where you're tuning in from today. They didn't kick down a door, shatter a window, or trip any alarms. They didn't even bother with the security cameras, not properly anyway. They just walked right in, and that told me everything. This wasn't some amateur smash and grab, not a robbery, not desperate, it was calculated. No chaos, no mess, just an absence. They came for one thing, and they got it. The porch light was busted out, glass scattered on the welcome mat like unwanted confetti. Next to it, taped with almost surgical precision, was an HOA violation notice, exterior illumination after 10 p.m., infraction, disruption of community aesthetics, status, non-compliant, forced correction enacted. Signed at the bottom in the perfect cursive of a sociopath with a municipal budget, Karen Miller, President. Of course, it was. I stepped inside, and that's when the silence hit me. Not the peaceful quiet of a sleeping house, but the kind of silence that screams something sacred has been stolen, and nobody made a sound. The entryway smelled like lemon cleaner and cheap Victory, too clean, too calm. That's when I knew they didn't struggle with Sarah. She didn't scream. They didn't need to hurt her, they just needed her gone. The throw blanket was folded neatly on the couch, the remote tucked underneath, just how she liked it. Her coffee mug was clean in the sink, the back door locked, deadbolt engaged. It wasn't just quiet, it was precise, too precise. Sarah's phone sat on the counter, screen wiped clean, factory reset. One missed call from me, that was it. Her keys were still in the dish, but her wedding ring was left on the table, neatly. Not flung, not dropped, left. I stared at it like it might explode. She never took her ring off. Not for dishes, not even after she broke her wrist 3 years ago. I watched her in that hospital bed, carefully sliding it onto her other hand with the same intense focus she used to have lacing up her boots before heading into a firefight. It doesn't feel like my hand without it, she told me. So, for it to be here, still warm from her skin. She didn't forget it. She meant for me to find it. That meant one of two things: she was trying to tell me something, or she never had a chance to run. I stood in that stillness a second longer than I should have, then moved toward the hallway, each step quieter than the last. Not creeping, calculating. The bathroom door was open, lights off, everything clean except the trash can. Inside, a pregnancy test box, one test missing. And just like that, my pulse dropped. Not rouse, dropped. Like my body knew something my brain hadn't caught up to yet. My breath hitched, my spine straightened without me even thinking about it. She hadn't told me yet. That wasn't fear, that was timing. Sarah always waited for the right moment. She planned reveals like recon missions, slow, meaningful, exact. And now, she didn't get that moment, which meant someone stole it. I picked up the box carefully, the same way I've handled explosives, because that's what it was, wasn't it? A quiet bomb, a new future we didn't get to talk about. I set the box down and stepped back, my eyes still scanning for clues. That's when I saw it. A candle, still lit, vanilla cedar, her favorite scent. We never left candles burning unattended, not once, not after the time a dish towel caught fire in the kitchen back at Fort Bragg. After that, it was our rule, no flame alone. But this one. It wasn't flickering, it was steady, balanced, intentional. She lit it after they came in. I know that now. The wick was fresh, the wax barely melted. She didn't know exactly what was happening, but she knew enough. She knew how to leave a message without speaking. I didn't leave willingly. I didn't panic. I left you a trail. That was her style, quiet defiance wrapped in ritual. She'd done it once in Jordan when we got separated during a checkpoint raid. She'd left her scarf knotted on a market stall. I found her 15 minutes later hiding in a freezer full of goat meat, smiling. Same energy here, different stakes. I backed out of the bathroom, closed the door slowly, and then I moved like a man with purpose. Garage. Back shelf panel, second notch on the left. Steel case, fingerprint locked, still registered to me. Inside, Glock, flash drive, burner phone, and a coin. Not just any coin, our coin. The challenge coin from the day we both made it through that tunnel run in Panama, the one she said was the only metal that mattered. I closed the case and pocketed the contents, moved to the kitchen. The drawer under the sink had a false bottom. Inside, my backup ID, a pair of gloves, and a box cutter she once sharpened for fun. No fingerprints, no trail, and still no panic. Only precision. That's what war teaches you. You can either feel or move. Right now, I had one job, move. I stepped out onto the porch again. The breeze was soft, like nothing had changed, but everything had. The HOA slip was still taped to the door. I peeled it off slowly, folded it, and slid it into my pocket like a receipt, a debt note, one I was going to collect. Karen thought she ran the neighborhood. She thought compliance meant control. She forgot the one thing they always forget: some of us spent our lives mastering rules so we'd know exactly how to break them. And when I break hers, it won't be with paperwork, it'll be with fire. She didn't cry for help, she lit a candle, and now that flame's heading her way with a storm behind it. For you, a free like is easy. But for me, it is the greatest support and encouragement. For this video, can you give me 1 like and 1 subscription? Thank you very much. I started in the garage. No coffee, no music, just answers. The auxiliary feed was dead. No motion, no footage, just static. To most people, that'd be a glitch. To me, it was a message. The cable was severed, shield sliced clean, 1/4 inch cut, no fray, no scorch. That's not an accident, that's someone with confidence and a checklist, someone who knows how not to leave a footprint. I followed the line back to the auxiliary battery, disconnected but not wiped. Residual cache still holding 30 seconds of ghost footage, 1 frame per second, no sound. That's all I needed. I booted up my burner laptop, popped in the drive. Hallway footage. Layla stepped into frame, phone in hand, loose grip, calm posture, no panic. She turned, looked into the camera. No flinch, no tears, just that look like she was leaving a mark I'd know how to follow. Then she was gone. She didn't flinch, she just stared into the lens like she'd already accepted what came next. That wasn't a goodbye, that was a flare. I froze the frame, took a breath. This wasn't about finding her, this was about following her lead. I cross-checked the timestamp with our home network log. There, a flash of life, 1 ping from her phone, then nothing. But the data trail didn't die, it forked. 2 IP bounces, the last one a private HOA infrastructure node, hidden, masked, internal. Karen hadn't just noticed us, she'd been watching. I dialed Finn. He picked up mid-yawn. This a get dressed problem or a bring the bolt cutters problem? Both, he grunted. Then I'll bring the good thermos. Finn lived in what looked like a CIA tech den squatting inside an off-grid goat farm. Solar panels, surveillance drones, 3 unnamed chickens, 1 serious attitude. When I pulled up, he was already outside in a poncho, holding a tablet and a mug labeled "Compliance is a virus." Please tell me this is about Karen. I handed him the drive. He plugged it in, squinted at the footage, and didn't say a word until the clip ended. She knew what was happening, he finally said. Yeah. He turned toward his gear. Then let's return the favor. 2 minutes in, he hit something. Okay, see this? He pointed to the network trace. Layla's phone didn't just bounce, it diverted right into a tunnel that ends in HOA-controlled infrastructure. She didn't trigger it. No, Finn said, this was pushed. Reverse signal routing, camouflaged like junk data. I leaned over his shoulder. If they're rerouting signals like this, it's not an accident. Nope, he said. It's a network tap. Karen's running a private digital dragnet. He paused, looked at me. I used to build this kind of thing for us overseas. This is local. He nodded. And that's what makes it worse. That's when tires rolled up the gravel. Jake stepped out of his truck, still in uniform, still looking like he was trying to convince himself this was all a dream he could wake up from. I shouldn't be here, he said. Good, I replied. Means you still have a conscience. He walked over, saw the screen, his jaw tightened. Karen wouldn't sign off on this. She created it, Finn said. He tapped the screen again. New window, new log, Lila Cole, pattern deviation escalated for correction. Jake blinked. That's not an official violation. Exactly, I said. It's off book. She didn't break anything, Finn muttered. She saw a pattern, and that made her a threat. Then Finn paused. Wait, here's something else. Another window loaded. Noah Callan, flagged passive archive access, status low trust risk. Jake went pale. I didn't report it. I just saw it. I thought it was a bug. You weren't a threat, I said. You were a maybe until you showed up here. He didn't answer, didn't need to. I stepped forward. Where's the archive? You're not going to find it on any HOA map, he said quietly. Karen showed me once. She called it a backup node for paperwork continuity. Translation, secret vault. We drove 20 minutes out of town. Gravel lot, faded signage, no cameras, at least not obvious ones. Jake punched in a code. Steel door rolled open. Inside, metal drawers, 2 towers, a folding chair in the middle like a throne of forgotten power. This place logs access? I asked. Jake nodded. Every key entry, every second. I looked up at the single blinking light in the corner. Then she knows we're here. Finn jacked in, his fingers danced. She's in the system, he said. Her files live, category red flagged for surveillance, awareness device behavior logged and altered post-capture. Layla didn't trigger this, they framed her after. This wasn't law enforcement, it was digital erasure. Moving her. What she'd been mobile for 3 hours. The van just changed direction. They're adapting. How long until they disappear again? Less than an hour. That's when I heard the tires. SUV, black. Karen stepped out like she was arriving at a donor gala. No surprise, no anger, just that polished expression of a woman who thought she was holding every card in the deck. But her mistake? She hadn't counted on the guy who reads between the lines. She thought the trail ended here, but what she forgot is I don't follow trails, I rewrite them. Karen didn't knock. She stood on the gravel just beyond the threshold, hands clasped in front of her like she was posing for a brochure. Blazer, clipboard, smile like she was hosting a charity brunch for federal compliance reform. I didn't speak. Neither did she. I stepped outside and shut the door behind me, not for secrecy, for control. She raised her eyebrows just slightly, like she was impressed with my composure. Mr. Cole, she said warmly. Busy day? I didn't answer. Karen loved silence, it let her fill the void with authority. But I knew something she didn't. Silence doesn't belong to the one who speaks, it belongs to the one who waits longest. Still, she kept smiling. I hope your morning adventure didn't disturb any sensitive files, she continued. Some of the older ones can be so convoluted. She tilted her head slightly, the same motion Layla used when she was deciding whether to challenge a bad intel report or let it pass. Karen wasn't challenging me, she was circling, like a politician on the edge of an election scandal, still in denial, still in power. You made a trip out to the archive, I said. Odd thing for a neighborhood issue. I like to be hands-on, she replied, especially when certain risk factors are in play. Risk? She smirked. Let's just say we're not used to having high-clearance veterans poke around in systems designed for homeowners. There it was. She said it out loud. She wanted me to know she'd been digging. I studied her, jaw relaxed, fingers loose, blazer crisp, but the eyes too focused, like she was running numbers in her head, calculating consequences, ticking boxes. I assume you found something, she added lightly, though I do worry sometimes that structure can be misread as surveillance. You're not enforcing order, I said. You're cultivating silence. Her mouth twitched at the corner, not a smile, a tell. You think I'm some suburban tyrant? She asked. That I wake up every morning dreaming of spreadsheets and control? You're not dreaming of it, I said. You're executing it. A pause, then the first real flicker. Her jaw flexed, her hands tensed just a fraction. She stepped in closer, lowering her voice. You don't get it, do you? Harmony is fragile, and sometimes people don't realize how disruptive they are until someone shows them the consequences. You erased her, I said. She blinked slowly. We corrected a breach. She didn't breach anything, she noticed. Exactly. I stepped forward. She held her ground. You built a system, I said, not to prevent problems, but to predict defiance. She wasn't special, John, Karen said softly. She just couldn't help herself. Some people, they're addicted to resisting, to destabilizing what others worked hard to maintain. I didn't move, but my heart rate slowed, just like in combat. Slower is deadlier. Then she said it, the one line that cut deeper than steel. She should have stuck to yoga and gardening. Would have lived longer. The porch light flickered behind me. I stepped forward now, toe to toe. You think this is about porch lights? Karen didn't flinch. You think this is about HOA dues and curb appeal? Nothing. This is about control, I said, about choosing who gets to exist without questioning you. Still no response, so I went quieter. This isn't a community, it's a testing ground, and you're running it like a weapon. For you, a free like is easy. But for me, it is the greatest support and encouragement. For this video, can you give me 1 like and 1 subscription? Thank you very much. She exhaled slowly. You really are her husband. You have no idea what that means. She raised an eyebrow. You think you're in the middle of a war, she said, but you're not. Wars end. This. She gestured vaguely. This is management. You're just a line item in a system. You built this system, I said, so you know what happens when one piece breaks protocol. Her voice lowered. We isolate and neutralize threats, I said. She smiled again. You don't scare me. I leaned in close enough for only her to hear. I'm not supposed to pause. I'm supposed to end you. Something in her eyes finally cracked, just a flicker, a freeze frame. Then she pulled back, professional again. Well, she said, smoothing her blazer, it's been illuminating. She turned, walked 3 steps, paused. Oh, and John? She looked over her shoulder. You should check on your friend Finn. My spine stiffened. What did you do? She just smiled. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. She drove off like she hadn't just lit a fuse and tossed it at my feet. I stood there another full minute, then I went inside, grabbed my gear, opened my phone, pinged Finn's tracker. No signal. Karen made one mistake, she made it personal. And now I'm done playing chess. Finn's signal was gone. Not jammed, not dropped, gone like it had never existed. I drove straight out to his property, off-grid. Behind a ridge where even Google Maps hadn't bothered sending their vans. No lights, no movement, no Finn. The chickens clucked like it was any other day, but his workbench was wiped clean. Every server port disabled, every screen black, cables stripped at the connector. His backup rig, our failsafe, was still behind the vent under the sink. He'd once told me, if I'm ever gone and that thing's been tampered with, don't look for me, just light a match. It hadn't been touched, which meant whoever took him didn't know it existed. I powered it up and scanned the open files. Only one was active, Convoy 93. When I opened it, I didn't see footage, I saw a trap. Looped camera feeds, staggered GPS sync, overwritten timestamps. On the surface, it looked clean, too clean. Then I saw his note, physical paper taped above the screen. Too perfect? It's a ghost. It was his last breadcrumb. The convoy I thought Layla was on? A decoy. Finn knew it, and that's why he vanished. I copied everything to my own drive and scanned deeper, cross-referenced the ghost convoy's route with HOA records. One hit, A back road flagged 6 months ago for landscape fertilizer overflow. No permits, no cameras. One tiny line item buried in a compliance audit. That wasn't a landscaping error, that was a smoke screen. I zoomed into the sector, Sector 22B. It sat on the outskirts of the HOA's boundary, technically outside their jurisdiction but still marked as active infrastructure. That meant only one thing: Karen was using it as a black site. Still, I needed more. Layla wouldn't have left this to guesswork. That's when I remembered the watch, tactical Velcro strap, EMP hardened, passive accelerometer. I booted my sandbox rig and dumped the movement data from our cloud cache. Finn had installed a tap on her device months ago, just for kicks. The signal was dead, but the motion pattern intact. It pulsed in rhythmic spikes, short bursts, consistent spacing, 21 minutes of pacing, 1-second intervals, then pause, 2 gaps, 2 seconds each, repeats 2 to 2. It wasn't random, she was sending me a code. The only way she could, Sector 22. I smiled, and that's when I caught something else. The watch's inner lining held scent memory, cedar, lemon balm, Layla's soap. The same one she used on her gear, scentless to most, but not to me. It was her version of lighting a flare in the dark. I packed light. This wasn't a raid, this was a surgical pull. The bag held lockpicks, comm scrambler, backup burner, 2 suppressors, gloves, breaching spikes, field medkit. And around my neck, Layla's ring. She left it for me like a key, now it was a blade. I parked half a mile out from Sector 22B, camouflaged the vehicle, checked wind direction. Air was still. I crouched behind a ridge and scoped the perimeter. From this distance, the irrigation shed looked like a maintenance depot, 3 walls, no signage, fresh tire tracks leading in, none out. But that wasn't what tipped me off. What tipped me off was the lack of wildlife. No birds, no wind chimes, no crickets. Too quiet, too controlled. If I were them, I'd set up 2 sentries, one external, posted to rotate every 20, the other embedded, eyes on all ingress points. If they had drones, they'd be thermal, not visual. I adjusted my approach angle by 10 degrees, moved to lower terrain, and began the countdown. No backup, no team, just me and a target. As I moved, I visualized each phase. Phase 1, infiltrate perimeter without tripping ground sensors. I'd used the drainage ditch on the east side, deep enough to crawl, shallow enough to keep under radar. Phase 2, disable external communications. That meant tapping their repeater dish on the north corner and redirecting it to my jammer loop. Phase 3, breach silently. I'd cut power to the locks with the spike, pop the panel, and slip in. Phase 4, extract target, fast, clean, no heroics. And if they tried to stop me? Well, I wasn't in the mood for restraint. This wasn't rescue, this was reclamation. And if Karen thought the ghost convoy would bury her sins, she was about to find out what happened when the ghost stopped playing nice. Sector 22 was supposed to be invisible, but tonight I was going to turn on every light in the building. They built Sector 22 to disappear, not just off-grid, off-memory. From the outside, it looked like a gutted maintenance shed, graffiti, rust, one broken light flickering above the entrance like a dying signal flare. But I knew better. The light beneath the steel seams was too white, too even. Someone spent real money hiding this place. I came in low, drainage ditch, east side, same pattern I used clearing a narco lab in Kandahar. No metal, no glass, just mud stink and silence. My gloves soaked through in minutes, didn't care. At the fence, I paused, listened. Air still, generator hum in the background. No birds, no dogs, no signs of life. Perfect? I scaled the fence, landed soft, crossed the blind spot between 2 fake cameras, and slid into the building's shadow. The door had a keypad, still warm. Someone had used it recently. I popped the panel, wired in a cold bypass. The circuit chirped once. Click. I pushed the door open slow, weapon up. It smelled like bleach and filtered air. They cleaned it regularly, scrubbed every trace of illegal away, but the stink of protocol still lingered. I moved fast, left, right, cleared every room with mechanical precision. Room 1, storage, empty crates, broken monitors. Room 2, server rack, fan still spinning, screen left on with an open profile, HOA log admin 4. Room 3, med bay, no bodies, but syringes, one used. Then room 4. I opened the door, and everything stopped. Layla hanging by her wrists, arms looped over a steel crossbar like gym equipment. Legs weak, ankles strapped, 4 in her arm, gauze on her temple, but her chest moved, barely. I was at her side in seconds, felt for her pulse. There. Alive. She was here. She held out. I said her name once, no response. I knelt beside her, whispered it again. Her lips moved, the smallest sound. I could have lost it right there, could have broken down, but I didn't because she was still breathing, because she needed me clear. I cut the bindings, eased her weight into my arms. She wasn't unconscious, just dulled. Light sedatives enough to slow her down, not knock her out. They wanted her compliant but aware. My blood ran cold. Then I saw the gauze on her shoulder, not taped like a wound, tucked flat inside a slip of paper, folded tight. Her handwriting, I bought us 10 minutes maybe less. They don't know I have the code, John. It's not just Karen. I stared at it. Not just Karen. Then I heard it. Footsteps, heavy, confident, no rush. I wrapped Layla in a thermal liner, placed her down behind the exam bench, turned. The man in the doorway didn't wear a mask. He wore a tactical vest with a stitched HOA patch, neck like a tree trunk, nose broken too many times. He smirked. "You must be the husband." I didn't answer. "She said you'd come." He stepped inside. I asked her what made you so dangerous. He didn't talk much, but he smiled. I adjusted my grip on the Glock. "She smiled," he repeated, nodding like it meant something. "Even after we pumped her full of." I shot him twice, chest then head. He felt like a power line cut mid-surge. I moved, grabbed Layla, slung her over my shoulder, out the hall. Siren spun up behind me, strobes, alarm bleats, the building finally waking up. I was already outside, back into the ditch, back over the fence. I drove blind for 2 miles, no lights, engine low, stopped at an abandoned RV lot Finn and I used years ago for surveillance dry runs. Pulled her into the cabin, shut the door. Only then did I breathe. She stirred once, reached for my hand, didn't fully wake, but she was alive. She was here. I sat against the far wall and looked at the note again. Not just Karen. She knew more, maybe always had. I stared at the dark window. Karen wasn't the top of the chain, and I just fired the first real shot. They took my wife, tried to erase her, and now they know I'm coming. The difference is, I'm already here. Layla didn't wake up fast. There was no movie-style gasp, no sudden flash of movement, just breath. A slow, conscious draw of air, and then her eyes. I watched as they opened, unfocused at first, like she was calibrating reality from muscle memory. I stayed quiet, didn't want to jolt her, didn't want to assume. Her gaze drifted to me, and when she saw my face, she smiled. "Hey," she rasped. That word nearly knocked the wind out of me. She was here, still her, still fighting. "I'm here," I said. "You're safe." RV dead drop, 2 miles out. Armory full. She nodded. Smart. She tried to sit up, then winced and stopped. I reached forward, slipped my arm behind her back, and eased her up. She leaned against me, not like a patient, like a partner. Tactical gear gone, contacts scrambled. Was it Karen? I hesitated. Then. Karen's just the face. You were right. There's something bigger. She nodded again, slow, measured, like every motion was being rationed. I reached into my vest and pulled out a thermos cap of water, tilted it toward her. She sipped once, then again. Color started to return to her cheeks. "I found something," she whispered. "Show me." She reached down farther than I thought she could and pulled a folded scrap of paper from the lining of her boot. They'd searched her, but they missed that. It was burnt at the edges, torn from a larger file, yellowed slightly from heat. One phrase was circled in red ink, Circle 9 Initiative. Below it, clearance level red. All pattern deviants are to be logged, flagged, and rerouted through the 9-gate node within HOA Zone Alpha. No local authorization required. I stared at it. The font was wrong, military-style monospaced, not HOA legalese. This wasn't a Karen document, it was military doctrine disguised as compliance protocol. I looked closer. Bottom corner, handwritten signature. Just that. No title, no stamp, just an initial. Who's D? I asked. Layla shook her head. Don't know, but they're in deep. This wasn't HOA generated, it was fed to them, then repackaged. And Circle 9. I think it's the sorting mechanism for us. For people who see too much, people who don't fall into line. She leaned back. Her breathing was steadier now, but her voice was edged with steel. They wanted me to work for them. I was wasting my gifts down here, and when you said no, they said I'd come around after recalibration. He said that, nodded like I was a faulty piece of equipment. I clenched my fists, then forced them to relax. You're not a machine, I said. I know, she replied, but they don't. Silence settled in the cabin, the kind that only shows up between soldiers who've run out of denial. I looked down at the file again. Zone Alpha, pattern deviance, no authorization required. This wasn't just a policy, it was a purge. They weren't governing a neighborhood, they were running a compliance experiment. Layla saw it first, and they tried to erase her for it. She reached forward, shaky but determined, and took my hand. Not soft, not romantic, just solidarity. That touch said, we do this together, or we don't do it at all. Then the phone rang. Not loud, just one buzz, short, sharp. The burner, my backup unit, hardwired to one contact only. I checked the screen. Finn. I froze, then answered. The voice on the other end wasn't his. It was deeper, smooth, a tone like black velvet and blood. John, he said. Silence. I see you've survived. Another pause. I'd like to talk. I didn't say anything, not yet. He continued, no threats, no bluffs, just perspective. You deserve to understand what this is before you destroy it. I didn't blink, didn't nod, but Layla looked at me and mouthed, do it. I raised the phone. I don't want understanding, I said. I want names. The voice chuckled. All in time. The line cut. I stared at the screen for a second longer, then set the phone down. Did you trace it? Layla asked. No, but I know where they'll be. Circle 9 built their system in the shadows, but now I'd pulled them into the light. And the thing about dragons? They bleed. There's something uniquely insulting about getting invited to your own assassination attempt, especially when the invite comes with GPS coordinates and no return address. But I showed up anyway. Not because I'm reckless, because I wanted to see the devil's face. And as it turned out, he wore a blazer. The meeting room was perched inside a glass cube at the edge of an abandoned airstrip. Minimalist furniture, no guards, no cameras that I could see. The only thing colder than the interior was the man already waiting there. Late 50s, silver hair, ice blue eyes, a scar that started at his temple and ran like a crack down the side of his cheek. He didn't smile. He just said, Mr. Cole. I didn't offer a handshake, he didn't expect one. Call me D, he said. Let me guess, I replied, no last name, no records, no fingerprints. I prefer efficiency. I prefer transparency. Then we're both disappointed. He gestured to a seat across from him. I stayed standing. I assume you know why you're here, he said. I assumed I came to kill you. He tilted his head. And yet, you're unarmed. I smiled. Not all weapons fit in a holster. He didn't blink, didn't flinch, just leaned back and steepled his fingers like he was debating stock options. Tell me, he said, what do you know about compliance psychology? More than you, I said. I didn't have to build an HOA to feel powerful. That got a flicker, not a smile, just a pause. You misunderstand, he said. Karen wasn't power, she was a pressure test. That's when it clicked. Karen wasn't a tyrant, she was bait. You used her to study how people break, I said. I observed how people bend, he corrected. Under surveillance, harassment, coercion. Under order, he replied calmly. I stepped closer. You're manufacturing submission. I'm preserving structure. No, you're training people to obey. Isn't that what the military taught you? And just like that, he pushed. I let it hang. Difference is, I said slowly, I volunteered. He didn't miss a beat. So did Layla. I moved before I thought, grabbed the table, flipped it sideways. He didn't move, just sat there, calm, calculating, threatening. My wife isn't strategy, I growled. It's suicide. She's alive because I allowed it. I stepped closer. You sure about that? He gave a slight nod, like a teacher indulging a tantrum. Then he spun his tablet around. A digital map, dozens of profiles, red X's on some, yellow highlights on others. Layla's was circled in green. Phase 2 was never about elimination, he said. It was about acquisition. You're collecting people. I'm identifying variables. And when you can't control them. His voice dropped a degree. We remove outliers. That's when I saw it. One of the names, Jake. Red flag status, conversion initiated. You're recruiting the next generation of Karen. We're reprogramming instability. You mean kids who think for themselves? Exactly. I stared at him. He genuinely believed this. You think you're a patriot? I said. No, he said flatly. I'm a realist. You're a parasite. I'm a filter. You're a coward in a press suit. I'm a system, he said, and systems don't lose, they get replaced. Then let me help with that. He stood finally. You've seen the roots now, he said. Pulling one weed won't stop the garden. I stepped forward. I'm not pulling weeds, I said. I'm bringing fire. He exhaled once, cold, controlled. This was a courtesy. No, I said. This was a mistake. You think you can stop it? No, I said. I think I can expose it. His jaw tightened, a micro twitch. That's all I needed to see. I turned and walked out, didn't look back, because I knew one thing now with absolute clarity. This wasn't just about Layla anymore. This was war. I thought Karen was the cancer, but she was just the cough. The real sickness had roots, and I've got the shovel. I got the message at 3:04 a.m. Encrypted, no signature, just 3 words, we need to talk. The sender was a ghost, but I knew the syntax. Jake. The last time I saw him, he looked like a man trying to hold a tiger by the tail. Now, I figured the tiger let go. For you, a free like is easy. But for me, it is the greatest support and encouragement. For this video, can you give me 1 like and 1 subscription? Thank you very much. We met under an old flood control bridge just past the HOA boundary, the kind of place where things go to rust and nobody asks questions. I parked uphill, gave myself exit options. Jake showed 10 minutes late, jacket soaked in sweat, left shoe missing a lace, eyes jittery, movements twitchy. He looked like a man on his last life. I didn't move from the shadows. I watched him pace, watched his breath fog in the cold, watched him scan the tree line like he expected D himself to step out and end this. Only when I knew he wasn't followed did I step into the open. His head snapped toward the sound of my boots. He froze. John, he said, voice cracking. Thank God. I said nothing. He swallowed, hands raised slightly. I'm not armed. Neither was Layla when they drugged her. He flinched. Good, he tried to explain, words dripping over each other, half coherent, like he was trying to outrun a confession. I didn't know it would go that far. Karen never told me. D only spoke to me once. I let him talk because the guilty always bury themselves. He finally stopped, breath heaving. I stepped closer. You called me here, I said. So talk. His jaw clenched. They're moving the hub. Node 0. It's not a theory, it's real. I waited. You were right. Everything. Circle 9's not just surveillance, it's a filter. A human one. Filtering for deviants, resistors, anyone who doesn't follow the behavioral slope. You ping enough pattern anomalies, non-compliance with HOA rules, resisting protocol, reporting Karen, and you get tagged. Then processed. He looked at me. Node 0 is where they decide what to do with you next. The way he said it, I knew it wasn't just theory, he'd been there. He didn't want to be, but he had. What else? I asked. They're prepping for a wipe, he said. Full reset. All flagged deviants within a certain geographic radius. They're calling it normalization. And your part in this? He went quiet. I stepped closer, voice lower. What did you do, Jake? He blinked. Pull names, altered logs, backdated reports. For who? Karen. And D. I didn't know who he was until the last week. Once I saw the reroute logs. I knew. Knew what? That I was next. There it was. Truth, not courage, not honor. Fear. That's why he called me, not to help, to save himself. You still in their system? I asked. No. Not anymore. I triggered a dev flag when I looked at Layla's file. They deactivated my access 2 hours later. And they started erasing me. Quietly. And now you want me to finish it for you? No, he said quickly. I want to make it right. I brought the key card and the access sequence. He pulled it from his coat, a small black chip, scorched at the edge, hard-coded. To my clearance. Gets you into the relay corridor below the admin vault. I took it. He held it a second longer than I liked, then let go. I studied him, sweating, but not just scared, ashamed. I almost pitied him, then I remembered Layla hooked 2 and 4, and the pity vanished. You're leaving after this? I asked. Yes. You run, I find you. He nodded, didn't argue. Smart man. I tossed him a bottle of water, one with a tracer cap. He caught it, didn't ask, just turned and started walking. I didn't stop him. Not because I trusted him, but because I didn't have to. He was useful, and now he was bait. I watched him disappear into the fog, then looked down at the chip in my hand. Node 0. The eye of the storm. They wanted me off balance. They wanted me angry. They wanted me reactive. But I don't react, I calculate. And now I was going to burn their foundation down, brick by encrypted brick. I've been patient. I've been quiet. But now that I know where to hit them, they're going to hear me coming. They say the worst traps are the ones you walk into by choice. That's fine. I don't mind walking into a trap as long as I'm the one who gets to close it. Node 0 wasn't hidden in a mountain bunker or buried under some corporate shell. It was sitting right under their original admin building, the same one Karen had once called unfit for modern use during a board meeting. Unfit. It had blast-rated glass, infrared detection, a vault door older than some missile silos I'd cleared in 2010. I used Jake's chip to bypass the vault. It hissed open without ceremony, like it was expecting me. Inside, silence. Too clean, too sterile. The lights weren't motion-activated, they were always on, like the place never slept because it didn't. I moved through each corridor with my back to the wall and my mind 5 steps ahead. I counted shadows, watched for beams, scanned corners. The place wasn't abandoned, but it wanted to look that way. Every hallway smelled like ozone and antiseptic. Every door was locked except one, the center, the heart, the node. I stepped inside, and she was there. Karen, wearing black, hair pinned back like she was prepping for an awards show, not a confrontation. She turned slowly, like she was surprised to see me, even though she wasn't. I wondered when you'd arrive, she said, voice smooth. We've been watching. I didn't respond, didn't blink. John, she said, tilting her head, you're not angry, are you? You don't get to say my name. She smirked. Still married to that military moral code. Very quaint. Behind her, a wall of monitors blinked, faces, names, pulse rates, pattern data. people. Every person she'd flagged, indexed, rerouted. "And what do you call this?" I asked. "Efficiency." "Correction," she said. "Society's immune system. We don't eliminate, we refine. You erased lives. We made life better for the ones who obeyed." Then the side door opened. Dee stepped in like a man late for a meeting he scheduled himself. No tie, shirt pressed, eyes like glass. "You were never meant to reach this far," he said, sounding bored. "Then maybe you should have put up better fences." He chuckled. "You misunderstand. This wasn't failure, this was study. And now that study is complete. You going to kill me now?" "No, John," Dee said. "You're going to watch." He turned, tapped a monitor. "Every deviant you've ever seen flagged. They're marked for sweep within the hour. You can't." I already did. I stepped forward. Karen blocked my path. "Shoot us, and the failsafe triggers," she said. "Node 0 locks. Purge protocols fire. Everything burns, including your wife." I paused. "You're lying." Karen's smile dropped a fraction. "Not all of it, but enough." "You think this is about data?" she said. "This is about the future." "That's funny," I said, "because your future's about to be fire and cuffs." Then footsteps. Layla, standing in the open doorway, alive, tactical stance, gun in hand, breathing sharp but steady. Karen's face froze. Dee turned slightly, curious. Layla didn't look at either of them. She looked at me and handed me something, a folded slip of paper. I opened it. A pregnancy test. Positive. I stared at it, then back at her. She shrugged. "Sorry," she said, voice quiet. "I meant to go to the doctor, wanted to be sure before I told you." My mind stalled, not from shock, from focus. They weren't just trying to erase my wife, they were trying to erase my child. I stepped past Karen, straight to the console. Dee raised a brow. "You'll trigger the system." "No," I said. I reached into my jacket, pulled out the beacon Jake didn't know he carried, set it on the keyboard. "System's already triggered." Karen lunged, too late. I stepped back. "Livestream's already active," I said. "To who?" "Everyone." Panic widened. The screens began to shift from faces to cameras, from monitors to mirrors. Their own voices, their own files, broadcast live. Every HOA resident, every flagged deviant, every single person they tried to erase, watching. They wanted control, they wanted obedience. But now they were going to answer to the people they tried to erase. They wanted silence, they got exposure. They wanted obedience, they got revolution. And the moment I dropped that beacon into Node Zero's core, the whole machine started bleeding. It began with static, just a flicker on the internal screens. Then Karen's voice started playing on repeat, one of her internal briefings where she outlined acceptable deviant behavior thresholds. The residents watching didn't hear law and order, they heard categorization. They heard control. They heard how easily their names could have been on that list. And then they saw the list. Every person flagged for surveillance, every child labeled behavioral risk, every homeowner penalized for nonconformity. Faces, names, notes like cattle tags. Karen didn't see it at first, she was too busy screaming at me. "You idiot. Do you even know what you've done?" "Yeah," I said. I hit publish. She bolted for the console, tried to shut it down, tried to override, but every command came back the same, denied. Her hands flew across the keys faster, sweat beading on her forehead. Her voice changed, less fire, more panic. "Stop it. Just stop it. This isn't how it's supposed to go." Dee didn't move, didn't speak, just watched her unravel. Then the lights cut, not power, just the overheads. The screens stayed on because the footage wasn't local anymore, it was in the cloud, live-streamed, backed up, spread across dozens of channels. Every HOA board member, every county official, every homeowner with a phone, they all saw it. Everything. And no one was coming to help her. Karen started pacing, muttering. Her arms moved like she was still commanding people, but no one was listening. The system didn't recognize her anymore. She wasn't in control, she was the exhibit. That's when the door burst open. 3 tactical agents, city-issued badges visible, weapons lowered. They weren't here for me, they were here for her. She tried to reason with them. I'm the president of this chapter. I authorize these measures under Administrative Code 6B. This is a misinterpretation of jurisdiction. They read her rights while she shout about bylaws. She was still yelling when they dragged her out, still clinging to a clipboard like it was a crown. And when they asked for my statement, I just said one thing: record everything. For you, a free like is easy. But for me, it is the greatest support and encouragement. For this video, can you give me 1 like and 1 subscription? Thank you very much. I turned to D, expected panic. He gave me boredom, like none of it mattered, like the collapse was just an acceptable outcome. You never intended to win, I said. No, he replied, I intended to observe. And you've given me exactly what I needed. You lost. I evolved. He looked at the ruins of his operation like a field report, then walked toward the exit. I didn't stop him, because some enemies you don't chase, you just outlive. Later that night, I sat alone in the node. Layla was resting, the agents were combing through drives. I stood there, surrounded by the bones of a system that tried to erase us. Screens still hummed with raw data, the same data they used to sort, flag, eliminate. I walked to the main console, typed in one last command: delete all archives. A single prompt appeared: are you sure this action is irreversible? I didn't blink. Yes. The screen went black. The room did too. And for the first time in a long, long while, it was over. Outside, the air felt different. Not cleaner, not freer, just real. No drones overhead, no surveillance trucks idling in the next block, no Karen with a clipboard watching me from a window. I walked back to the truck where Layla was waiting. She looked up at me. Finished? Yeah, I said. It's all gone. She leaned her head against the window and closed her eyes. Good, she whispered. And that was it. No victory music, no press release, just 2 soldiers driving off toward a place without fences. They built their kingdom on fear. I burned it with the truth. And now I'm finally ready to stop fighting. We didn't stay for the fallout, didn't wait for news crews or court dates or cleanup reports. There was nothing left to explain. We packed what mattered, left behind what didn't, and drove east until the static in my head started to fade. The house we landed in wasn't much, but it was ours. No neighbors peering over fences, no rules taped to our front door, no one telling us how to live or who we're allowed to be. Just wind, wood, and sky. It took a while to learn how to breathe again. My shoulders stayed tense for weeks, like I was waiting for a door to crash open or a shadow to move wrong. But they never did. Eventually, the silence stopped sounding like danger and started sounding like peace. Layla's bump showed quicker than we thought it would. Some nights she'd sit with her hands resting on it, eyes closed, and whisper things I couldn't hear. One night she handed me a notebook. Inside, a list of names. She smiled and said, "Your turn." I didn't write one. Not yet. I just sat there with the pen in my hand, thinking how strange it felt to build a future instead of a plan. I started fixing things. Not for safety, for permanence. The door hinges, the roof, the fence out back. It wasn't combat training, it was something quieter, something heavier, preparation. I still keep a weapon nearby. Call it instinct, call it insurance, but the truth? I'm not gearing up for a war, I'm protecting what I couldn't protect before, what no one gets to take again. Karen's gone. Dee's vanished. Circle 9 is ash. But that's not the victory. The victory is this porch, these quiet nights, that heartbeat under Layla's skin. We survived the system that tried to erase us. Now we get to write something better. Not every legacy is built in blood.